Managing cloud resources, it can feel like you're just constantly juggling. There's the complexity, all those repetitive tasks, and always that worry about human error,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's a common headache.
But what if there was a way to make those everyday cloud operations, well, simpler and safer, more efficient?
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
We're looking at AWS Systems Manager automation.
Yeah, our mission here is really to explore how this automation feature, it's like a powerful shortcut. It helps organizations streamline their AWS stuff, turning those manual pains into automated solutions.
Okay.
We'll get into the core benefits, why it's such a game changer for anyone managing AWS.
So let's start right there. What is AWS Systems Manager automation, fundamentally?
Okay, simply put, it's a capability within AWS Systems Manager. It's designed to make maintenance, deployment, remediation tasks easier.
For which services?
Oh, a whole range. Think EC2, RDS, S3, lots more. And it works using runbooks.
Runbooks, right. So like predefined scripts or custom ones.
Exactly. Predefined, or you can build your own. They're sequences of actions, basically.
And who really gets the most out of this? Who benefits?
Well, really, any AWS customer who's aiming for, efficiency at scale, it helps cut down manual errors, speeds up fixing problems.
Yeah.
So infrastructure folks, administrators, they find it super valuable for automating the routine stuff.
Frees them up from the grind.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Gets those smart people focused on bigger things.
That makes sense. But, automation often brings up questions about control, especially at scale. How does this automation tool ensure you still have that fine-grained control?
That's a really important point. Let's talk about control and safety at scale. The real insight here is how automation lets you turn risky, maybe infrequent operations, into something predictable, routine even.
Okay.
It's not just about being faster. It's about enabling you to move faster, innovate more, by taking some of that human risk out of critical tasks.
How does it do that specifically?
It gives you really granular control over concurrency. So you could say, okay, only target this many resources at once.
Ah, like a batch size.
Kind of. And you can also set error thresholds. Stop if more than this many fail.
Got it. So you can do bulk tasks like updating a whole fleet of instances, but, safely, without causing a huge outage if something goes wrong early on.
Exactly. It automates away some of that operational anxiety.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, one typo during a manual update across hundreds of servers, that's terrifying.
Right. Automation helps prevent that.
Okay, so safety and control at scale. What about flexibility? What if the standard actions aren't enough? You mentioned custom runbooks.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
That leads us to flexibility and power. This is where you can really tailor things.
How so?
Custom runbooks let you embed Python and PowerShell scripts right in the workflow using an action called aus.execute script.
Oh, wow, okay.
That gives you huge flexibility. You can do tasks that maybe aren't built-in actions. Plus, you can add input constraints in the runbook definition itself.
Constraints like?
Things like allowed pattern or allowed values. So if someone tries to run the automation with, say, an invalid input format, it just stops them right there, prevents errors before they happen.
That's clever. Build the guardrails right in. Python and PowerShell scripting. That sounds pretty powerful, maybe almost too powerful for some. Is there a risk of adding complexity back in?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
I think the key is to start simple. Use the predefined runbooks AWS provides first. They cover a lot of common scenarios.
Get comfortable first.
Right. Then, as your needs get more specific, you can gradually introduce custom scripts. Good documentation, good naming, helps manage that potential complexity too.
Makes sense. Now, security is always top of mind, especially for regulated industries. And you mentioned something about enhanced security and centralized management. How does automation help there?
Ah, yes. This is really key for security teams. It revolves around this idea of delegated administration.
Delegated administration.
Instead of the user running the automation, needing all the permissions to perform the underlying actions.
Which might be a lot of permissions.
Exactly. Which you might not want to grant directly to a person. Instead, the automation itself runs using an IAM service role, an assume role.
Okay, so the automation has its own identity and permissions.
Precisely. The user just needs permission to start that specific automation, that runbook. But the automation itself carries the permissions needed for the task.
That's huge for least privilege. The user triggering it doesn't need, say, permissions to reboot every EC2 instance, just permission to run the restart ec2 instance runbook.
You got it. And it enhances auditing too, because you can clearly see who initiated it versus what permissions were used by the role. Plus, there's a practical side. Any automation running longer than 12 hours has to use a service role anyway because user credentials expire.
Right, that session limit. Does this centralized management also help across different accounts?
It does. Administrators can run these automations across multiple AWS accounts, even multiple regions, all from one central place. Big simplification.
Okay, so you've got the automation running securely, maybe across accounts. But what about seeing what's happening? Visibility, integration.
Good question. It ties in well with the ecosystem. Automation integrates smoothly with Amazon EventBridge.
Ah, so event-driven automation.
Exactly. You can trigger runbooks based on events happening in your AWS environment. Like if a specific CloudWatch alarm goes off, trigger an automation to try and fix it.
Nice. Reactive automation.
Yeah, very powerful. And for logging, especially from those custom scripts, the output can go straight into Amazon CloudWatch logs. Great for debugging, compliance, all that.
Okay, so let's tie this all together for the listener. What does AWS Systems Manager automation really mean for you?
Well, at the end of the day, it means less grunt work, fewer mistakes.
Fewer late nights fixing those mistakes?
Definitely. It frees up your team's time they can spend on, more strategic projects instead of just keeping the lights on.
And you can enforce standards consistently using these runbooks? Share best practices?
Absolutely. It helps standardize how you operate across the board. We've seen how it transforms workflows, making them safer, more reliable, more efficient.
It really turns those potentially high-risk manual jobs into predictable, automated procedures.
It does. So maybe think about this. If you could reliably automate away your most tedious, maybe your most complex, your most anxiety-inducing IT tasks, what could your team achieve then? What new possibilities open up?
That's a great question to ponder. A good starting point might be to check out some of those predefined runbooks, right?
For sure. Look at something simple like AWS Restart Tech 2 instance, or maybe something a bit more involved like AWS Update Linux AMI. Just explore, start that journey, and see what automation can do for you.